Hello and welcome to another episode of Aloe and Ace podcast. I am the allosexual Skylar.
And I'm the asexual Jesse. What?
Did you forget your name for a second?
No.
Jesse, welcome to episode number what?
21?
You got it.
I did it.
Yay for you.
That was a massive question mark when I just said 21.
I know, you sounded super confident.
It's 21.
21.
There you go.
All right, so before we get started, let's just do all the things right off the bat.
Yeah, all the things that we should do and need to do.
And I haven't said this in a while, but if this is your first time tuning in, we don't recommend you start with episode 21. While other podcasts may have random topics and you can just hop in wherever you want, we have thus far pretty much progressed, I would say, on a journey.
I would say so too.
So start with number 1 and then make your way to 21.
Actually, I'd be very interested for listeners to reach out to us and let us know if they also feel like it's progressed like a journey, starting from episode 1 and, going further in.
And how would they do that?
They can do that by reaching out over pretty much any platform. They can even text us.
Yeah, we have a Google Voice number, so you can message us at area code 385-645-3651, and that is a U.S. number, if that means anything to you.
Right.
You
can also email us.
At aloeandacepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So trigger warning, this is a sexuality podcast where we discuss asexuality, which can include and oftentimes includes discussions around sex. We don't really get into self-harm or SA, but we like to just throw it out there in case it ever does come up. And I try to update in the show notes any trigger warning that we may have discussed on this episode after we record it.
Right. And also, we are not professionals.
We are not.
We're just a regular set of people.
In an asexual relationship.
In an asexual relationship. Now, I may be a professional in the future, but I am certainly not one now.
I mean, I think you're professionally awesome, but that's just me.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how someone judges that, but...
Yeah, I'd really like to know your scale or what you go off of for that.
So, I don't know if we have too much, I want to say, Jesse, how's it going? I don't know if we have any major things to share, but why would I be answering that if I'm going to ask you how you're doing?
Yeah.
So, Jesse, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just got home from kickball practice. I'm on a kickball team, a women's kickball team. And that makes me very happy to go do that.
You've been doing it for 7 years now?
Yeah, something like that. Pretty crazy.
Long time.
We've won a lot of championships, I gotta say. And we are the balls of fire.
Yeah.
So it's fun. So anyway, on like a right off the bat level, I am actually very happy right now. And, I would say we've had a really good couple of weeks.
Yeah, you went on a girls' trip, and I was forced to go on a bros' trip. Not that I was forced. I really enjoyed the company I was with. But we normally wouldn't,
we're normally
spend
together.
Our weekends away from each other.
Yeah, we're normally together. So, yeah, I was a bit nervous going into my trip because I just don't know when something's going to get brought up about asexuality and how it's going to feel talking about it right then and there and coming up with or having a good response, right? I'd like to feel like I'd be eloquent and logical, but sometimes that doesn't always happen, especially if you don't really know the answer to something, which is completely fine. But I do like to be prepared. I would say that it did get brought up. I didn't even tell Skylar about this, actually.
You would like to say that it did?
What is that what I just said?
I would like to say that it did get brought up.
I would like to say it didn't get brought up, but it did.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think the biggest thing that was interesting was...
Which is news to me.
Yes, I haven't shared this with you.
Okay, excited.
So I was with my cousin and best friend driving to where we were going, and I had to clarify that asexuals can still enjoy sex. They just don't have the attraction part of it. They can be sex favorable. And then
I wish I had like a record scratch effect.
yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, I know. It's very interesting to me that that's still just it's so misunderstood. So anyway, I got into the averse part, right? And how I am averse to sexual things, sexual activity.
Not even just sex.
Right. Sexual activity, sexual experiences, something that feels sexual is hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just really interesting because I explained to them that one of the reasons I figured it out was because I have to sit there and wrap my head around it for days and days, like if I will do it or not. And this isn't just like twice a day, like, should I? No, this is like 100 times a day or more that I would do this for days. And my cousin said, well, sometimes, well, both of them said, well, sometimes, I have to kind of talk myself into it a bit as well. And I'm like, okay, but that's sometimes. Imagine all the time. Like you don't know anything different than having to do that. And then they were like, oh, yeah. So that was kind of an interesting moment. And then the other thing that was interesting was talking to them about how, generally speaking, in society, people look at open marriages of any sort as a very negative thing, like that is absolutely ridiculous, that's not normal. But the minute you throw in the fact that your spouse is asexual and you have a sexless marriage, it instantly becomes okay for the allosexual partner to explore outside of the marriage.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that that makes it okay in society instantly.
Well, and that's what we touched on, I think episode 19, where we said, what are other reasons why someone would be like, well, then I should be able to do that. Like, I want a back rub every night and you don't want to.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to me because you have even pretty religious people saying, oh, well, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
It's like in the Bible having all the harlots and concubines. It's like,
yeah,
one woman's not enough.
It did go very well. We laughed so hard. So many times, I can't even tell you the amount of times I thought I might puke because I was laughing so hard.
And you can't even throw up.
I can't even throw up. I have an interesting medical thing that doesn't allow me to throw up. So honestly, it was actually kind of painful, but it was fun. It was really fun. We had a great time. It's just these interesting things get brought up,
Yeah.
Education moments.
And I went down to Moab and did a lot of hikings, went to the Corona Arch, went to Delicate Arch. And I think Saturday, if we had to guess, I probably hiked 9 miles, had over 22,000 steps. I was tired by the end of the day.
I'm sure you were. Did any interesting conversations get brought up for you?
I mean, we talked about, various things, and including and not limited to, open marriage. Because as we've discussed, quite a few of our friends are in open type relationships. And, it's always interesting to get other people's perspectives on how they, manage things
or view things.
Yeah. And, a lot of times we just talked about rocks and rock formations.
Nerd alert. I love it.
And collected rocks. There's a lot of agate and, some interesting different rocks out there. So
is that how you say that? Agate?
Agate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I saying that lazy?
I don't know.
Agate.
I'm not judging you.
Agate. That's kind of lazy. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Side note there.
So I think that, aside from us both having fun and missing each other, we wanted to read a quote that you had shared with me It's from a book that you actually brought with you and was...
No, I bought it down there.
Oh, you bought it down there.
Yeah, I have the Kindle version, but I love it so much that I bought the paper, the physical copy of it. So it's a book by Brianna Weist. I think I'm saying that last name right. It's called The Pivot Year. Did I already say that?
No.
Okay, yeah, it's called The Pivot Year, and it has a page or a little excerpt for each day. So you're just supposed to read one a day, but honestly, they're so good. It makes me want to read more than one a day.
And if memory serves me right, it's number 60?
Dang. Yeah, it's day number 60. And this is what it says.
And I want you, before you get into it, I think this goes back, if you look at episode 6 and probably 7. So we're in that area of why you're with someone.
Yes, but it also ties into, what is it, 18 and 19?
Yeah, with like the open hands, like the cupped hands.
Yep.
So I want people to listen to it with that idea of like, what does it mean to, be in a relationship with someone, and what determines that as a healthy and good relationship.
Right. So here we go. Day 60. When you feel a connection waning, that is when you must remind yourself not to steer another human being's destiny. That is when you must remind yourself that you cannot assume the dream you had for them is the same one they have for themselves. To love someone is to allow them to be sovereign. It is to honor their path and their ability to choose how they want to spend their time and their life. Learning to love in this way is the only way to experience true intimacy, not formed upon the basis of expectation or need, but the free will of two souls who see no more preferable way to spend their energy than on one another. That is what you are really waiting for. Love that is intuitive and clear, that does not make you question or doubt how worthy you are of being prioritized, of being invested in. Love that chooses you as you choose it. So what do you think about that, Skylar?
I think it's really good. I think it talks about, that you can't force people to have the same dream. And I think, by dream, it means like the same goals, the same 5-year plan, 10-year plan. You can't expect and force someone to do that if they don't want it. And you have to have enough faith to allow them to be sovereign, to be a free person as far as, in a relationship. You don't have to be with me if you don't want to be with me. And if you do, then I should see it, because you're going to prioritize me, and you're going to do things not because you have to do them, but because you want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What did you get from it?
I just feel like that points at just letting things be natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. Feel your feelings, accept your feelings, respect them, and just be natural with how you feel. And if you're both doing that, you're going to get to where you naturally need to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that's not together.
Yeah, and I don't think it's also saying to just be lazy either.
No.
I think it's more pointing to
you will naturally
choose each other.
Yes, it should honestly. Wait, this is probably going to make people angry. I don't know. Because it's like, it shouldn't be that hard. It should honestly be coming pretty naturally to be with the person that you are with more than anybody else in your life, right? Everyone talks about, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. But does it have to be? Should it really be a lot of work all the time?
I think it's a lot of work. So think about your job. Your job becomes a lot of work when two people don't have the same goal for the job. So if that doesn't make sense,
I think sometimes your job can just feel like a lot of work because it's a lot of work.
No, I'm not talking about the amount of work you have. I'm talking about the difficulty in which it is to do the job. So if you're not on the same page with your partner and you're butting heads, it seems like a lot of work because you guys don't have the same outlook or goal. Because it's one thing to just say, I want to be happy. It's another to know what happiness is.
Yeah. It just seems like it shouldn't be so much work to find happiness within your lifelong partnership with somebody.
Well, and that's where it's like
what is making it so hard?
Well,
right?
it's not having the same outlook on what a successful relationship looks like.
It's further than that, because if you don't have communication going on, then it stops right in its tracks. It can't even go anywhere,
Well, sure.
whether there's not the same outlook or not, because if you're not communicating anything.
Well, you can't have the same outlook if you're not communicating, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, everything will naturally happen if you are wanting it to happen. But if you're not on the same page, if you don't think that you have to be on the same page, if you're looking at it like it's someone else's fault or someone else is not doing what they're supposed to, instead of this natural thing happening.
Yeah.
But
don't get me wrong, though. I do think that relationships have interesting patches that need to be worked through. However, do I think a relationship should be hard for an extended amount of time? Say, I don't know, 25, 30 years? No. Do I also think it shouldn't be hard for 1 year straight? No. That's a pretty long time to have a rough patch. Do I think that a couple months of hardness is probably, yeah. But I just feel like
it shouldn't be that difficult.
No, because the person that you are spending the most time with in your whole entire life, it should be exactly what that little excerpt said.
Well, and it's not that you and I don't have rough patches. Our rough patches are 2 hours.
People are like, okay, shut up. No, but why do you think that they are only 2 hours?
Because we communicate and we don't, it doesn't define what our relationship is. There isn't a major struggle where we just can't get over it.
Do you think that it helps that we say, hey, I'm feeling disconnected from you right now? Like, it's weird. We need to, something's up. Like, something is up.
Yeah, and I think probably part of our history of, being divorced and this being second marriages might have a lot to do with it, because we started our relationship knowing exactly what we would or wouldn't put up with.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that we're not riding through this storm where we got together and after a year we had a kid and, well, we made our bed, so we might as well lay in it. And we just don't like each other.
I really don't feel that way. I mean, yeah, what you just said, I agree with you. I feel like I'm pretty much not willing to put up with BS.
The bullshittery?
Yes, I'm just not. I only have so much time, right? And I'm not saying like...
Yeah, you're old.
I'm getting old, guys. No, but really though, it shouldn't be that hard for so long. You deserve happiness. You deserve to be loved for who you are, right?
And we're not looking to lose 90% of our listenership by these comments. I hope it's not coming off that way.
No, but
we understand that there are difficulties around aspects of marriage and relationships.
Yes, what I'm encouraging is coming together. Is really what I'm encouraging. I'm encouraging coming together and starting that flow together.
And we don't
possible.
Yeah, and there's probably very few exceptions that I don't feel like you can come back from.
Yeah.
But I think that if two people really want to, they can start over.
This doesn't even just apply to a romantic relationship either.
It's any relationship.
This applies to any kind of relationship where you have somebody that you're close with and see frequently and communicate with frequently. It really should feel You should feel safe around them. You should leave hanging out with them feeling so happy that you were there with them. Like, otherwise, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah, you shouldn't feel worse off than before your interaction with them.
Right. I would examine that a bit and see where you're actually able to be yourself, where you can be goofy and not feel like you're being judged for being goofy. You know, everyone's kind of goofy, I think, to a degree.
And that's one of the things that I don't think we've brought up on the podcast, but I've talked a little bit about my previous relationship, and one of the reasons why I got a divorce was she didn't like who I was on a core level.
Right.
So you have what we call, in our marriage is you have a core personality, like who you are if no one was around you, the way that you would act, the way that you would dress, the way that you would talk, the jokes you would tell, who you are, like at a core personality level, the things that would be very, very, very difficult for you to change.
And that you really shouldn't be changing.
Unless it's like to a core level, you're like a real bad person. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But you have these core personalities that for the most part aren't going to change, and your partner should love the core personality of who you are.
Right.
There's the other things that you can change, like, your lack of, cooking or something.
Yeah, or like yelling or something.
Yeah, something that is more of a learned trait, or whether good or bad. And there's things that you can improve on, but improving your core personality is probably not something that's going to happen.
Right, the way you view the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that having a good understanding of how you guys view each other on a core level is something good to understand.
Yep, and like I said, that goes for all types of relationships, right?
Yeah.
I had therapy last week, obviously, and I had therapy yesterday. Something that kind of stood out to me is, one of the main triggers that comes up is feeling like Skylar has to deal with me. Like I'm too much. I'm so much to deal with. And my therapist asked where that comes from. And I said, I know exactly where that comes from. That comes from a specific person my whole life, from my childhood and into adulthood, saying things like that to me. Someone that is supposed to play a very big role in my life. And then my therapist said, okay, but what are your thoughts on that source? Like the person that's coming from. And this is a person that I do not have a good relationship with at all. And it's like, oh my gosh, this whole time, whenever I have these triggers happen or spirals, I'm truly trusting a person that I would never trust like that. So why? Why am I doing that?
Yeah, why are you giving them space in your brain?
When I know logically right now, just thinking about them, I'm like, nah, I wouldn't trust what they're saying. I'm not doing that. So why am I letting this belief hold me back so much with a person that's saying it that I don't even have any kind of close relationship with? And so it was kind of a big moment. And I'm not going to lie, my therapist was like, you need to tell that person to shut up pretty much when you're thinking that, because they don't know. They really don't know. And so that kind of, that happened a little bit a week or so ago. That came up between Skylar and I. And then that's why I had talked about it in therapy. Do you remember any hard moments or interesting moments for you over the last week and a half or so?
I think that it's always hard to see you have those thoughts and not feeling good enough to be with me, or that you would be better off, or I would be better off without you, because I don't ever feel that way, and I've never felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always hard for me to see you do that, because there's not a whole lot that I can say to you in that moment that's going to just snap of a finger make you be like, oh yeah, that's silly, of course.
Right, because it feels so real.
Yeah.
When those thoughts are coming in. I should probably try that counting trick again.
Yeah.
That was good.
We did want to talk about, and the main point of this episode is, if you can't tell from the title, is understanding without understanding. And a lot of the issues that we have had through the years is because of my quote unquote lack of understanding when it comes to Jesse feeling hurt by something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually done a little bit of research on the topic.
Oh.
And there's actually, if I had to ask you how many forms of empathy that you think there are, how many do you think there would be?
Do you mean
The types of empathy.
I honestly don't know.
There's like 7.
I just think of one.
Yeah, there's different types though. And so that's what
I
we
think
want.
we kind of just like generalize that, don't we?
I think that people don't understand probably that because I didn't. I mean, I figured there was a couple, but I didn't know there was like 7.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear this.
So we're actually not going to talk about all 7.
Dang it! What? You just got me excited for nothing.
Well, I don't
real?
even have them memorized, but you have, so the 2 main ones that we're talking about is cognitive empathy and emotional empathy.
Okay.
But there's also somatic empathy. There are like spiritual empathy, aesthetic empathy. There's
Aesthetic empathy?
yeah, like
What does that mean?
You feel empathy towards an art piece or towards like a piece of
Oh.
music or something like that. Like it makes you feel the feelings when you look at it.
Oh, well, I feel like that's very asexual.
You have spiritual empathy where you feel, a spiritual connection with a person on that level. Somatic is where your body is reacting in a way that their body is reacting, and there's
is that almost like
somatic therapy, right?
Well, no, but is like that almost like if a guy feels sick with his pregnant wife, like he's having a
somatic empathy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so there's all these different forms of empathy, and not to be confused with sympathy.
I have to clarify that I only use that example because Skylar is sitting here right with me. Your wife could also have somatic empathy towards her pregnant wife.
Yes.
Sorry. And all sorts of other dynamics, of course.
Yes. So sympathy is more like pity or feeling bad for somebody, where empathy is feeling the emotion, typically is the way that we describe it. When you look at like emotional empathy, is somebody is talking to you and they are very distraught, or they're sad, or they're having a hard time with something, and you're reacting on an emotional level that is almost equivalent to theirs, and you're feeling that emotional, whatever they're feeling.
Yeah.
And
I feel all the things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to talk about, or the discussion that I wanted to lead on this topic, is when it comes to Jesse and I's relationship, I've had a really hard time with feeling emotional empathy with Jesse. I'm a very logical person, and so if I've hurt Jesse's feelings and she has said, you said this and it hurt my feelings, my reaction is self-preservation, which
Oh my gosh, 100% it is.
which is a very human reaction. It's very human to self-preserve, to try to justify or defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So my first reaction is, well, that's not what I meant. Or you're taking it out of context, or what I said wasn't meant to be taken that way, so I don't understand why you're taking that way.
And what's my response when you say that?
You don't get to say how I take it.
No, what I say is I understand that you didn't mean it that way,
Yeah.
but that doesn't change the way it made me feel.
Yeah, but you'll also say like, that's great that you don't want me to feel that way, but that's how I feel. You don't
Exactly.
get to say how I feel or how it made me feel.
Yeah. Yep.
So for the longest time I've been like, okay, like
This has actually been one of our things
yeah.
that we've really had to work on throughout the last 6 years.
And not even with asexuality, just with anything
That
at
has been
all.
upsetting, yeah.
And so I've had to think, okay, and again, you almost have to put, I don't even want to use this phrase,
Oh,
but
no.
you have to put off the natural man. There's the whole like the natural man is an enemy to God. Like the natural man is the
okay.
enemy to your relationship. So if you're naturally inclined to defend
I mean,
yourself,
we can say the natural human.
well, yeah, the natural man is all encompassing. Mankind is everyone. It's not just men.
Yeah.
So this all encompassing, like the natural human is an enemy to a relationship because the natural human wants to preserve and defend.
Mm-hmm.
So in these situations, I have to think, all right, why am I trying to defend myself? Why am I trying to preserve myself? Why can't I just acknowledge that she is hurt, even if I don't understand it?
Right.
And so that's...
well, I've even said, do you understand how that could make me feel like that?
And I'm like, no.
And he goes, no. And then it's like, are you kidding me right now?
Because I'm looking at it internally with, if someone said that same thing to me, would I feel a certain way? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't.
What it should be is, can you see how that could hurt someone's feelings?
So that's where cognitive empathy comes in. So cognitive empathy is the ability to intellectually look at a situation and understand why someone would be feeling a certain way, even if you yourself don't feel that certain way.
Mm.
So the way that this ties into asexuality and asexual relationships is I, to a degree, can understand asexuality because I can look at a different form of sexuality, which I am not, and understand to agree or view it as so in my case, I am heterosexual.
Mm-hmm.
I am not attracted to men. But I can look at that and understand and grasp the fact that I am attracted to women, but I am not attracted to men.
So if you can imagine what it's like to not be attracted to men because you're not, then you can imagine what it's like for an asexual to not be attracted to anybody because there are similar feelings in there.
So even though I don't understand your situation, I can have a cognitive empathy and say, well, I know that I'm not attracted to men, and so therefore I can't force myself to be attracted to men. I'm not trying to talk myself out of it or into being sexually attracted to men. It just doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe,
and people accept that.
Maybe Chris Hemsworth.
Or there's a few on his list.
There's a couple on my list that could sway me.
But not really, though.
But not really. And so...
But wait, let me just pause there.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating that is so accepted. That
Sure.
you are heterosexual and you are not attracted to men, sexually attracted to men, but it is so unacceptable for an asexual to be an asexual.
Yeah. But on the flip side, an asexual who is black stripe ace,
Meaning zero sexual attraction to anybody.
you don't know what it's like. You can't put yourself in my shoes per se and understand what it is like to be sexually attracted to someone, because that's not something that you have ever felt.
Yeah.
To your knowledge.
To my knowledge, yeah. Never.
So in situations where I don't fully on an emotional level understand why you're not sexually attracted to me, and you don't fully understand what exactly I'm feeling with my sexual attraction, we can have cognitive empathy, because we, on an intellectual level, we can understand that it does exist, and also that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so I don't need you to necessarily feel my exact feelings to understand any struggles that I might be having around being in a sexless marriage or with my own sexuality, being in an asexual relationship. And I don't have to fully understand on an emotional, empathetic level with you on the issues that you're having, or the hurt that you're feeling, or the not feeling good enough, or that I shouldn't be with you, because you know what it's like to live unnaturally for 36 years. And so you can have that understanding that you don't want me to live unnaturally either.
Yeah.
But it's on a cognitive level,
right,
that we try to understand each other when we don't understand each other.
So what you're saying is we as people can really understand without understanding, as long as we focus on cognitive empathy.
Yeah, so if you take yourself out of the situation, so on a logical level where I would say, no, I don't know why you're crying, because I wouldn't cry.
That sounds so mean.
It does.
It really does, but guess what? That's exactly what it's like.
But I don't know that I say that exact same thing. I don't know. Why are you crying? I wouldn't cry. That's not what I have ever said.
I'm side-eyeing him right now.
But I have said I don't understand, or no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, because I literally say, Skylar, don't you think that would make you feel upset if I said this? And you go, no. And I'm like, well, cool, bro.
Cool. Now I feel worse.
Way to go.
No, but it's if I can step aside.
Yeah, it's so it's so interesting that it's so hard for someone to validate someone else's feelings, even though just
self-preservation.
I know, but seriously, why is it so hard to just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that made you feel that way"?
Everyone does it. It's such
That's it. Like, that's all you have to say.
Like, think about, like, at work, if your manager or someone says, Jesse, why didn't you get that report done on time? Why didn't you don't just say, because it wasn't important to me. You say, I was really busy. I was going to work on it, and then something else came up, and, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's never this thing of like, I just really didn't want to do this report.
I just said, fuck off to this report. Can you imagine if you said that?
I just didn't want to do it. And so I put it off.
I gave it the middle finger pretty much.
Right? So it's just, everyone does that. It's all the time. Why are you late? Because I didn't care enough to be on time. Like.
Okay. So what do you think are maybe the top few situations where in an allo and ace couple or friendship even, where do you think this is happening the most, where someone's not understanding without understanding?
I really think that it's happening a lot with allosexual people have a hard time believing or understanding their asexual partner.
Well, which part?
Well, the fact that our relationship started off really sexual. And so how is it now that you are telling me that you're averse to it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you.
So it's like if I'm saying I feel violated when we have sex, I feel like I'm being violated. That would be like you saying, if you're not doing it the right way, that'd be like you saying,
Can't believe
Can't
you
you
would
see how that would be
accuse-
hard? This is what it is.
Yeah.
It would be me saying, can't you see how that would be difficult? And you would respond back and say, no, because that's not how it feels at all. It shouldn't feel that way.
Because you consented to it and
Yeah.
your body was reacting in a good way.
Right.
And you said you wanted to do this, and we've done it 1,000 times. So how can you say that it feels violating? That makes me feel dirty.
Yeah. And then so what would be the nice way or the great or thoughtful way to respond if I was like, it feels violating. Can't you see how that would feel violating to me?
I would, well, how I would approach it. I don't know that you should say, can't you see how it would feel violating to me? I think you should just...
No, but the asexual partner is probably typically expecting that their allosexual partner understands that they're asexual and they're not sex favorable. And so they're trying to say, can't you see how that would be hard for me?
I think the problem is that we are trying to make other people understand stuff that they're not going to understand. Because how am I supposed to understand something that you are feeling on a personal level?
Right, but that is what we do.
I know, but you shouldn't, I don't think.
So
I think you should make a statement without trying to make someone understand it on a personal level.
So it's like when we have sex, I feel like I'm being violated.
And that's really hard for me.
And that's really hard for me. And then your response is,
I'm sorry that you're feeling that way. That would be very difficult to have those feelings.
And then that's it.
That's it. And I'm sorry that you're going through that and that's a feeling that you're having. But when you're saying, can't you see how that would feel violating to me? I can't see that. And I'm not even on an intellectual level, I can't see that.
Right. But that kind of language is happening left and right.
Yeah.
Or the other way around, for the allosexual to be saying something like, can't you see how it would be hard for me not to have sex?
I think that if you were having a cognitive empathy response to that, it would be, I can see that going against something that is very natural feeling to you could be difficult.
Yeah.
Because you don't care if you have sex or not.
That's true.
But if someone does care, you're not going to be able to understand why they would care.
I know. And then the very human part of me wants to be like, I'm sorry, that sounds like a personal problem to me. That's the same. Listen, it's the same type of mentality that we talked about with preservation, like human behavior. Why we got to be such little assholes? Like,
well, because if I'm saying to you that I want to have sex and you don't want to have sex, then you're going to be like, well, then don't be with me.
Well, no, I would say that's interesting. We probably should figure out a creative path to work through this. That's my new answer.
That's your new answer, but your old answer wasn't that.
My old answer was, so looks like we're not going to be together any longer, and I hope you find lots of sex. We have progressed, babe.
We have. I think that it just, I think the other thing too is a lot of times in situations where there's something that could be classified as an argument, there feels like there has to be like this instant back and forth response. People don't want to stop and sit and be like,
Yeah.
Let me think about what I want to say before I say
Yes.
it.
There was a TikTok where a guy was talking about that. He's like, why don't we just stop for a second and
Yeah.
actually go through each of our little personality identities to map out like, oh, this is actually how I want to respond. I just thought about that painful episode where we got into a
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth. Go ahead, Skylar. Come to me and say that. Go ahead. Come on, let's go.
I'm having a really difficult time today. I'm feeling very sad because we're not having sex.
Okay, I'm a little bit surprised to hear this. I'm so sorry that you're feeling sad. Is there anything that I can do that would help with that?
Aside from sex?
Yes, aside from sex.
Nope, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's go both paths.
We talked about...
Let's go both paths. You say no. Okay, so say no.
No, because I want to have sex and I'm sad and you don't want to, so you can't help me.
Okay, well, I think that this probably has to be a bigger discussion. Is this something that's happening frequently?
Yes.
Okay, so this is actually a bigger discussion, and I'm so happy that you're bringing it to me because I definitely don't want you to be suffering and be in pain. And although this is going to be difficult to figure out, I do think that we can. So I think that we can sit down and decide what might look good just to start off with, what kind of things we can talk through as far as little baby steps that we can take to maybe relieve some of this sadness. How's that sound?
Would that be your actual response?
I would hope so. I would hope so. Like, I thought about this just now when we were talking, and I'm like, whoa, I feel so much better about that question than I ever have. I was lit.
Yeah.
I was not okay. I had a little bit of a breakdown for several days because of that podcast episode. And it's amazing to be on the other side of that and be like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? And this does sound scary. The worst thing in my brain that can happen is that you need to go have sex with other people. But is that actually really the worst thing that could happen? Actually, I don't think so. I think that it would be okay if that's actually what needed to happen. You are only coming to me because it's serious enough to come to me and say something, right? I trust that you're only coming to me because it has hit a point where it does need to be talked about, right?
Where it's causing so much emotional turmoil in my life that it's affecting everything that I do.
Yes, let's please talk through this. I don't want you to be miserable. And at that point, I would rather you enjoy you at the level that we're able to than have you sit in misery for who knows how long. Okay, so let's go the other way though. So say it again.
I'm just having a really hard day today. I'm really sad because I've been thinking about the fact that we are not having sex.
Okay. I thought we were doing pretty good. I'm so happy that you came to me and said this. Is there anything that I can do to help that is within, my boundaries that we're aware of?
Yeah, do you think that maybe you can rub my back for a bit and, rub my chest and cuddle me? Can I be the small spoon?
You can be the small spoon, baby.
I just want some skin to skin closeness on whatever you're comfortable doing. Just a little extra love.
Yeah, as long as we respect the boundaries in place, I'm completely happy to offer you a bit of extra love in the best ways that we know how. Boom! How did we master this in the last, what was it, a month and a half ago when that episode happened?
Yeah, because you were the day after, the days after, you were like, I don't know why you need extra love. I'm giving you extra.
I mean, it was bad. But obviously I needed to dissect things and I needed to grow in that area. And that this doesn't mean that this is always going to pan out perfectly. No, but I do hope that us walking through these two scenarios helps because this is real. This is real life stuff happening, real life issues going on in these kinds of relationships. And it's happening in relationships that are starting. Like if you're in the dating world.
Yeah.
Right? So what can we do to be thoughtful and respectful at the same time? Like respecting our own boundaries, their boundaries, and thoughtful, right?
And then also understanding cognitive empathy.
Right, because
situations.
In that situation, there is a level of cognitive empathy that I am willing to give to you, right?
Yeah, on an intellectual level, I can understand that this is something that is causing you issues that's not causing me issues, and I want to, on an intellectual level, be able to help you come up with a solution.
Right. And I think the other thing, we've talked about this a bunch, and it's a little bit of a sidetrack here, but it makes me so sad that everybody is so threatened by everybody. It makes me so sad that everybody doesn't think of themselves highly enough and know that they're so worth love, right?
Well, I think it comes down to wanting to be the only person that could ever make you smile as big.
Right, but when you
love as loving.
Right, when you say that though, don't you feel that ego?
Well, it is.
Right?
Again, it goes back, and I really hate these type of interactions on like Love Island or these other dating shows, even like The Bachelor or Bachelorette, where it's like, let the best man win. And it's like, it's not a competition. You're like, she should choose the person that she wants to choose because she has the best connection and relationship with them, not because
I'll be the best man.
Because you alpha mailed the other person.
I know that they're not right for them.
Yeah.
Oh, do ya, buddy? Do ya? Right?
So it is a bit of ego. It is a bit of like human nature.
But here's the other interesting thing though, Skylar. Let's pull this in a little bit more. Let's dig a little bit deeper here. I just got done at the beginning of this podcast saying that I laughed so hard this last weekend, so many times I thought I would puke. And I'm talking like 30 different times probably that this happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to you in that case. Why does it not mean anything to you? Because it's with my cousins and my best friend. But what if it was a guy that was making me laugh so hard I wanted to puke? Why does it all of a sudden change? Right? Like, why not be so happy for me that I'm feeling so much joy that I want to puke? Just in general. Why is that so threatening? It's so interesting. Are
you talking about compersion?
What? Yeah, compersion's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I bet some people don't know what that means. Do you want to elaborate there?
Compersion is feeling happy that your partner is feeling joy no matter where the source comes from.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one in ethical non-monogamy.
Yes. And honestly, though, it should be a big one just in general. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think everyone has their own sets of, what their threshold is for any part of their marriage, whether they want to open or not, or get a divorce or not. And we ourselves are not practicing ethical non-monogamy.
No.
We are not open.
No.
At the time of recording this episode, we are not open. So with that said, it would take, in my own thought and my own opinion, it would take a lot of turmoil and emotional turmoil for me to get to that point where I would want to come to you and say, I'm having a hard time not experiencing sexual intercourse.
Do you
or
trust
other
me,
sexual.
Do you trust to come to me and say it?
Yeah, after the last few episodes that we've done where we have talked hundreds of hours about these different...
It feels like hundreds of hours, doesn't it?
These different topics and where we are with it and our understanding, that I do feel like your you wouldn't have the knee-jerk reaction to be like, well, then goodbye.
I know, I wouldn't be pouring the gasoline on and lighting a match.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be sad and it wouldn't be
No,
hard
no, no.
at all.
It would
We're not
be-
saying Jesse would just be like, high five.
It would be incredibly uncomfortable, but I think that I have such a different outlook on it now. I can have that cognitive empathy. You know, you want me to be so happy, and I want you to be so happy.
So I guess people would be asking then if you're essentially saying that Skylar can go do this, then why isn't he?
Because he doesn't want to.
Because I'm not at that point where
He doesn't. You don't feel the need, do you?
no, not at the moment. I haven't even had a fraction of a need where I feel like I need to come to you to make something happen.
Right.
And that's not me judging or an ego thing or any of that. My personal thing in my relationship with you and what we have and what we share and the time that we spend together, that's not something that I'm willing to deviate from currently for that.
Right, because it does change the dynamic of things, doesn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. Naturally, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Whew. This has been an episode, huh?
So understanding without understanding is the ability to have cognitive empathy, to take time to stop, don't preserve, don't defend, and just look at it on an intellectual level and sit in it and have a discussion to understand them without understanding them.
Yeah. This has been good.
I'm glad.
We've missed you since we didn't record last week, so we're happy to be recording tonight and releasing this episode very soon.
We sure are.
We are. Was there any, just to wrap up the episode, was there any questions that we needed to address that we got in over the last 2 weeks that you feel like we could talk about or just clarify on, or?
I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, I just remembered. Guess what, everybody?
We probably should have said it at the beginning of the
We
episode.
probably should have. It's okay. We do have the Etsy shop up. Oh my gosh. Etsy shop. We have the Etsy shop up for Aloe and Ace podcast. There are only 2 things posted, right, Skylar?
Currently.
There are 2 shirts posted. We do plan on adding more, but we finally did it. So yeah, if you're interested.
It'll be in the show notes. I'm trying to get the API, which I haven't even checked recently, but to get the API approved to put it on our website as like some kind of application, but I will put a link in our website as well. So, and the show notes. So aloeandace.com, there'll be a link there. It's also going to be in the show notes. It's etsy.com/shop/aloe and ace.
Right. And so the 2 shirts we have the ghost shirt that says Netflix and actually chill, which is super cute and so fun because it's almost October, so it's even more fun. Fun all year long, though, honestly. And then the other one has a hand in the middle and it says sex averse, ace. And thriving. Yeah, it's cute. But we do have some other things that we'll be putting up. So look out for those. And obviously, everybody listening, please reach out to us. We love hearing from you. We are never bothered by it. Text us, email us, message us on most any platform, and we will be here for you.
And thanks to those who have bought us coffees.
Yes. Oh my heck.
Made donations. You can also do that at
nice.
aloeandace.com. Click on the little coffee thing and you can make a little donation if you feel so inclined.
Yeah. Are we kind of rambling now?
Yes.
Okay. It's been great. We love you. Okay. Bye.
Till next time. Bye.